Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk about the vertex, anti-vertex axis. This has also been coined the electric axis. They are personal sensitive points in the chart, and they are calculated. I wrote it down. They are calculated. They are the point that's located at the intersection of the elliptic and the prime vertical. You don't actually need to calculate these yourself. I don't have the formula, but sure you can find it if you want to. But most websites will, most like astro.com will calculate this for you. You don't actually need to calculate it yourself. So the vertex is something that's commonly pulled in charts. It can be worked with in just the natal chart. I do find that I tend to work with it more in transits, progressions, solar arcs, synastry, composites. In a natal chart, it needs to be activated because really the vertex does need to be activated. It does need to be activated, and it can be activated in a natal chart. I would, as far as natal charts go, I focus on conjunctions. I guess the vertex could be activated if you had like a planet conjunct the vertex. That might be like an activating quality. So it might make the planet conjunct the vertex have like a faded feel to it, or things surrounding that planet might have a faded feeling. See if you've got Venus conjunct the vertex, there might be like a faded quality with Venus. I could see something like that coming into play. Now the vertex is people do think it is faded, like it's a faded thing. Faded things happen around there. This generally does deal with other people. And that's because the vertex will generally fall between houses, somewhere in houses 5 through 8. It doesn't have to. It can fall in the 9th. But you'll usually see it in houses 5 through 8. Those houses do tend to deal with others. So that puts the anti-vertex then. And when you pull this on a chart, when you pull the vertex on a chart, the anti-vertex will not come up with it. But just know that it is directly opposite the vertex. This will fall somewhere in houses 11 through 2, usually. This tends to be faded things that have to do, like fate that you bring into your life versus the vertex being fate that other people bring into your life. Does that make sense? Because I don't know that I always like this terminology for it. Sometimes I find it fits. Sometimes I've seen the vertex and anti-vertex referred to as a secondary descendant and ascendant, respectively. I don't always like that. Sometimes I find it fits, but I'm not always crazy about it. But I can see where people are going with that, since the vertex does tend to deal more with other people, and the anti-vertex does tend to deal more with you as a person. I can see where people are going with that. I've also found that when the vertex is lit up, like by transits, this is going to sound strange, so I hope I explain this well. When the vertex is lit up by transits, and even with the transits, I really only focus on the conjunctions to the vertex or conjunctions to the anti-vertex. I find that things conjunct to the vertex, they tend to be things that come out of the blue, and they might feel faded, but they come out of the blue. Whereas things that are conjunct to the anti-vertex, like transiting planets conjunct the anti-vertex, they might feel out of the blue too, but in retrospect, they'll make more sense. That sounds weird. I hope that makes sense. But I have noticed that, like, going back through through past, like, through my own past and like past charts of other people, and I mean previous, when I say past charts, I mean past transits of other people, that does seem to fit. Maybe not universally, but I do find that it does a lot of the time. So like transits to the vertex will be things that feel fated and out of the blue, and they kind of remain that way. But things that are conjunct the anti-vertex, in retrospect, at the time they might feel faded and out of the blue, but in retrospect they won't seem so much that way. Now when looking at, because transits and synastry and progressions, they are the main way that I'll look at the vertex. Like I said, I do look primarily at conjunctions for this. I would keep the orbs pretty tight. I would keep them like 3 degrees, applying and separating. That's just me. I mean, if you want to go wider with that, by all means. If you want to look at like transiting squares to the vertex, by all means. This is just kind of how I do it. Because obviously, I mean, you are also looking at oppositions, right? In a sense, because if you've got a planet conjunct if you've got a transiting planet conjunct the vertex, it's obviously going to be opposite the anti-vertex. So in a sense, you do have an opposition that you're looking at too. Okay, so when you're looking, people get really excited when they look at the vertex. Sometimes they get excited and like, and sometimes they get excited and like it's not really an excited, it's more like a foreboding. Because people will see that, will see conjunctions or whatever they're looking at to the vertex, and they might get they might think something fated is about to happen. Well, let's keep in mind that transits, depending on what planet we're talking about, like the transiting sun, for instance, is going to conjunct your natal vertex once a year. It will. This happens once a year. That doesn't mean that fated things can't happen to you once a year, but vertex, when I think of fated things with the vertex, I tend to think of things that are of a bigger deal. Because the vertex is also thought of as like a turning point. So the fated things talked about or whispered about with the vertex do tend to be bigger deal kinds of things. So, and like the transiting moon, for instance, you'll have the transiting moon, right, conjunct the vertex once a month. So I highly doubt you're having a turning point once a month, So I have often found that when you're looking at the vertex and you notice something coming up, right? Like you're looking at transits in the future, or you're looking at transits right now, or whatever. And you notice like something conjunct the vertex. Let's say you notice transit Venus is going to be conjunct your natal vertex. So you might be thinking that some sort of love, some sort of turning point with love is going, somebody's going to walk into your life, let's say. You're thinking that that's how this transit might go. Something else you need to look at with the vertex, when you're looking at transits to the vertex, you also want to look at the planetary ruler of the vertex in your natal chart and see what's going on with it transit-wise too. Like, for instance, my vertex is in the 8th house in Leo. So if I were, say, I don't know, if I had like a Venus conjunct, a transiting Venus conjunct my vertex, I would also want to take a look at my natal sun and what transits are going on with it. You definitely want to bring that into the equation when you're looking at the vertex. You definitely want to look at the planetary ruler of the vertex in the natal chart and what all transit-wise is going on with it. Same thing with synastry. If you have a planet, if somebody's planet is conjunct your vertex or vice versa, this can show some kind of fated quality to the relationship. It can. But let's say, okay, I'll use myself as an example. Let's say I had my vertex conjunct somebody's Venus. I would also want to look and see what if their Venus made an aspect with my natal sun and what else, you know, their chart was doing to my natal sun. Now, I would do that anyway, right? Obviously, because I'm talking about the sun, my sun. But it would be something, in the context of the vertex, you definitely want to look at the planetary ruler of the vertex, what it's doing, where it is in the natal chart, and what is happening to it in synastry with the other person's chart. You definitely want to look at that too. Definitely, definitely, definitely. It kind of helps to flesh out what that vertex planet conjunction might mean even further. Now in the composite, you can look at it in composite charts. Most people use the midpoint method, which I use that too, but most people use that. So some people don't think to compare, because it's a midpoint method between both charts. Some people don't think to compare the composite to the natal chart. I think that's very important to do, to see if there's any specifically conjunctions, to see if there's any conjunctions between the composite chart and each person's natal chart. I would definitely look at this with the vertex, see if the vertex in the composite chart is conjunct either of the people's anything, see what pops up. And you could do the same thing with the natal charts. Look at the natal charts of both people, right? Find their vertex, each person's vertex, and see if the vertex in the natal charts conjunct anything in the composite. I would definitely go that way too. And some people probably do this. I don't hear this talked about very much. I think it's good to look at them that way, for sure, to kind of give you another idea. You can definitely do this with solar arcs and secondary progressions too. Looking at secondary progressions and solar arcs to a natal vertex, I would definitely do that as well. You could look at all three. You know, you could look at transits. You could look at solar arcs, you could look at natal charts, transits, solar arcs, natal charts, transits, and secondary progressions, to kind of also help give a better idea as to what some transit to the vertex might mean, or what some progression or solar arc to the vertex might mean. It's good to play around with this shit and look at it lots of different ways. Anyway, I'm gonna get going. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I'm at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Paterno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to like or subscribe or whatever the fuck people do with videos on YouTube, you can find us by searching for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.